Some predictions stay hidden and forgotten. Most people don't know about them, but others come back right when they're needed, speaking up again, loud and clear. One of these is the prophecy of Malachi. It tells us about the last pope, Peter the Roman. Many people think it's just a story. But with the papal election coming soon and the church in trouble, things are starting to look a little spooky. It makes you wonder, what if this time the truth is closer than we think? What if the prophecy is about to come true? Stay with us until the end, because there are lots of clues to uncover. The Pope's health continues to cause concern. Increasingly frail, the Pope has had to limit his activities, fueling rumors of a possible resignation. If the situation worsens, an early conclave seems inevitable, and this wouldn't be just any change in leadership. For centuries, each papal election has brought with it doubts and fears, but this time, the waiting is filled with a particular presence, the prophecy of Malachi, a mysterious text, reread with a certain unease that could shed new light on the destiny of the Church. Its origin, however, remains shrouded in mystery. The story goes that in the 12th century, Saint Malachi, the Archbishop of Armagh, had a vision about the future popes of Rome. He wrote down 112 short phrases in Latin, each one meant to represent a pope. For centuries, the document remained hidden in the Vatican archives, until the Benedictine monk Arnold Wyon published it in 1595. Since then, this unsettling question has accompanied every papal election. Will the new chosen one align with the prophecy? What makes this list so surprising isn't just its existence, but how some descriptions seem to perfectly fit the popes who have succeeded over time. The first phrases, referring to the medieval and Renaissance popes, have been considered particularly accurate, reinforcing the idea that the prophecy is authentic. Some examples are truly surprising. For example, "From the fort on the Tiber" refers to Celestine II, the first pope on the list born in a fortified city on the Tiber River. Similarly, "The Cold Abbot" refers to Benedict XIV, a Benedictine monk whose name reminds us of the order's strictness and seriousness. Meanwhile, "Angelic Shepherd" has been linked to Pius XV, described by his contemporaries as a man of almost mystical spirituality. What makes this even more unsettling is how the prophecy isn't just vague. It seems to predict specific details. John Paul I, the Pope of 1978, who died after only 33 days, is identified with the motto De Medietate Lunae, or of the half moon. His election and death lined up perfectly with 2 moon phases, making his short time as Pope a fleeting light. John Paul II is described as "from the labor of the sun," a description that echoed both his tireless work of global evangelization and the fact that the solar eclipse of May 18, 1920, coincided with the day of his birth. With the arrival of modern times, the interpretations become increasingly urgent. The motto of Benedict XVI, "Glory of the Olive," refers to the Order of Saint Benedict, whose branches symbolize peace and monastic spirituality. Finally, the last name on the list appears: Peter the Roman. The last pope of the prophecy is shrouded in deep mystery. The full passage reads, "During the final persecution of the Holy Roman Church, there will sit Peter the Roman, who will pasture his flock through many tribulations. When these are past, the city of 7 hills will be destroyed, and the dreadful judge will judge his people." These words don't just speak of a massive crisis, they suggest the possible end of the Church as we know it. According to this tradition, after the second-to-last pope, often identified as Pope Francis, the final pontiff will arrive, under whose reign the Church will face its most difficult trial. The text speaks of a time of tribulation and a coming judgment, bringing to mind images from the Book of Revelation. Some interpretations suggest that the figure of Petrus Romanus could represent a period of spiritual renewal and a return to the origins of the Christian faith, rather than being an omen of the end of the world. In this reading, the tribulations would be the necessary challenges to purify and revitalize the Church. Also, for some, the prophecy becomes a metaphor for inner transformation, in which the destruction of the city of the seven hills symbolizes the overcoming of old structures and the arrival of a new era for Catholicism, instead of an actual demolition of Rome. Naturally, for others, it would be just a fabrication. Why are the last verses so evocative? For centuries, associating the name Peter with a pope has been avoided, out of respect for Saint Peter, the first bishop of Rome. And yet today, destiny seems to lean towards a possibility that until recently seemed unthinkable. There's speculation about the arrival of a pope named Peter, or someone strongly connected to him. Even though the Church doesn't officially recognize the prophecy, it keeps coming up at every papal election. With the current pope's time seemingly coming to an end, the name Peter the Roman is back in the spotlight. Following the thread of the prophecy, we might carefully observe a figure not only named Peter, but who also occupies a crucial role in the current hierarchy: Cardinal Pietro Parolin. Vatican Secretary of State, Parolin has long been one of the most influential figures in the Curia. Known for his diplomatic skills and ability to mediate, he has handled extremely delicate matters between the Church and world powers, operating with caution and discreet influence. A deep expert in the workings of church politics, he embodies the continuity of the current Vatican power structure. But if he were to be chosen, could the connection to Malachi's prophecy really be ignored? The mere mention of the name Peter raises many questions. One more thing makes this even more unsettling. The prophecy doesn't just talk about a Peter, it calls him Peter the Roman. This detail also seems to have a very specific meaning. Although not originally from Rome, Parolin's career has unfolded in the highest offices of the Vatican. He is a Roman diplomat par excellence, a cardinal who embodies the essence of the Holy See. If the prophecy were interpreted in a broader sense, one could say that a pontiff like him would represent the last great Roman pope, preceding an irreversible change in the history of the Church. The prophecy speaks of a time of great trouble, of a church destined to face its hardest test. Today, we see a church divided between progressive ideas and calls to tradition, in a world increasingly hostile to faith, in a West that seems to have forgotten what is holy. What if the election of the next pope is the real turning point? What if the next conclave determines not only the name of the new pope, but the very fate of the Catholic Church? History, however, teaches us that prophecies, whether real or not, hold immense power. They influence how we interpret events. And in this case, the shadow of Petrus Romanus could transform the next conclave not into a simple transfer of power, but into the prelude of something much more imposing. What do you think about this prophecy? If you enjoyed the video, comment Amen. God bless you.